All right, ready to dive deep because today we're all about Batman. We're going under the mask.
Into the mind of the bat.
I like it. We've got excerpts from Batman and Psychology, A Dark and Stormy Night.
By Travis Langley. Great book.
Yeah, this book digs deep into the psychology of not just Batman, but his whole world.
It really does.
Yeah.
Especially when we're talking about Bruce Wayne and,
His transformation.
yeah, from traumatized kid to, well, Batman.
Which I think that's where this deep dive gets really interesting right away, right? We all know the origin story.
Oh, yeah.
Tragedy in Crime Alley, his parents are murdered, young Bruce forever changed. But Langley says it's so much deeper than just that's why he fights crime.
Right.
He goes into the psychology of it. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, you can't ignore the PTSD aspect of it, can you? I mean,
Yeah.
The nightmares, the flashbacks, those are like textbook symptoms.
Right. And all the different versions of his story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What I find really fascinating is how Langley talks about post-traumatic growth. Because Batman, he doesn't let that trauma define him.
Right.
But he doesn't ignore it either. He uses it,
Almost like fuel.
yes,
Yeah.
like a source of strength.
But is that growth, though?
That's the question.
Is it really growth, or is it just another way of being stuck?
Exactly. And that's what I think makes Batman so interesting. Is he a symbol of resilience? Or is this need to control the chaos that took his parents away?
Right.
It's a question that keeps us coming back.
It's that push and pull that makes him more than just a guy in a cape, right?
For sure.
And Langley, he talks about this idea of the shadow archetype, that Jungian psychology.
Yes.
Can you unpack that a little bit? Because that one always trips me up.
Okay, so think about it like this. The shadow is kind of like the hidden side of our personality. The parts of ourselves that we don't want to admit are there. And Langley's argument is that Batman, he's not just fighting criminals out there in Gotham, he's fighting his own shadow, his own capacity for darkness.
Wow.
He embodies it.
He does.
He confronts it.
Which makes his villains even more interesting.
Yes.
But we'll get to them.
We will.
So Langley also uses this framework of the hero's journey.
Of course.
To kind of unpack Batman's story. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, it's a classic framework for a reason.
It is.
You think about it. The call to adventure, the trials, the temptations, the ultimate confrontation.
He checks all those boxes.
Batman's story has it all.
But it still feels so personal.
It does, doesn't it?
It does.
And I think that's because it's driven by this deep psychological wound, that trauma.
Yeah.
In Crime Alley.
That really sets him apart.
Absolutely. It's the catalyst for his whole journey.
Yeah. And it makes you think about his motivations, Like, why does he do this? And I know on the surface it's like, oh, avenge his parents, right, protect Gotham, all that.
Right.
But Langley kind of digs into something a little deeper, I think.
He does.
Talking about this need for control.
Yeah.
Like imposing order.
It makes sense.
On this world that he sees as chaos.
It does. Because think about it.
Yeah.
He experienced this ultimate loss of control.
Yeah.
When his parents were murdered.
Senseless.
It's this random act of violence.
Just ripped his whole world apart.
Exactly. And so becoming Batman, right, with all the rules, the gadgets,
strategy,
everything, it's like his way to regain that sense of control. Not just over the criminal underworld, but over his own
trauma.
Yes. Exactly.
Wow. Like
Yeah.
he's trying to make sure nothing like that ever happens again.
Yeah, and it's interesting, you talk about the rules and the gadgets and all that. That's where the whole Batman persona comes in, right?
Right.
The mask, the suit, the gadgets. It's all part of this identity.
It's very constructed.
Very.
Yeah.
Very deliberate. And that allows Bruce Wayne to kind of compartmentalize, to become something more than just a man.
More than just Bruce Wayne.
Haunted by this past. Yes, exactly.
It's interesting you say that about the mask because Langley talks about the psychology of wearing a mask.
Oh, yeah.
And how it can be both freeing but also isolating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
On one hand, a mask can give you anonymity, right? The freedom to act in ways you normally wouldn't.
Right.
And for Batman, that's huge. It allows him to become this symbol, this creature of the night that strikes fear into criminals. But on the other hand,
it's a barrier.
It's a barrier between him and everyone else.
Right.
It prevents him from forming these real connections.
Which is kind of heartbreaking when you think about it.
It is.
He's sacrificing his own happiness, a normal life.
Right.
For this mission.
For the mission. And speaking of, that brings up another point that Langley analyzes. Fear.
Yep.
The role of fear in Batman's world.
Right.
He uses fear as a weapon. But how effective is it, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's like you can scare somebody into not, mugging somebody tonight, but
Right, but does it change who they are?
right. Like, are they going to pull
Exactly.
through?
And Langley says, it's a powerful motivator in the short term,
Right.
but it doesn't address those root causes of crime. Poverty, lack of opportunity, the systemic issues that plague Gotham.
Right. And Batman can't fix those.
If
So
he's
it's like, if fear isn't the answer, then what is?
Exactly.
Speaking of complicated, let's talk about his love life,
Oh, boy.
or lack thereof.
Right.
Langley, he goes into his relationship with Catwoman, Talia al Ghul.
Yes.
These women, they're kind of, they straddle that line between...
Right. Enemy, lover.
Exactly. What do you make of that? It's wild, right? You'd think Batman would be into somebody who's, good.
A nice girl.
Yeah. Not Catwoman, the thief, or Talia al Ghul, international assassin's daughter.
Right. But there's more to it than that. Right.
Right. Langley says it's not just a bad boy thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like he's drawn to these women because they reflect parts of him.
Yeah.
Like Catwoman, she's all about breaking the rules, right?
Mhm.
Freedom, a little playful.
Yeah.
That's something Bruce Wayne craves.
But Batman can't have.
Exactly. He can't have that as Batman.
Wow.
But she embodies that.
Right.
That freedom.
Okay, so then there's Talia.
Right. Talia's a whole other thing.
She's something else.
With her, it's about ambition.
Yeah.
Power. Right. She'll do whatever it takes to reach her goals.
Which Batman's not above that either.
Exactly. He's not afraid to bend the rules when he needs to.
So he's attracted to them because they mirror him in a way.
Exactly. They embody that conflict he's always struggling with.
But it never works out, right? Like, none of his relationships do. Is it just bad luck? Or is it deeper than that?
See, Langley argues Batman, he's doomed to be alone.
Oh, wow.
And not just because of the whole secret identity thing,
Right.
but because Batman always comes first.
His mission.
Always. He can't fully open up to someone. It's too risky.
Yeah.
He's chosen justice over love,
Which, that's kind of a sad story.
It is.
Like, he's giving up his own happiness for the greater good, but at what cost?
Right. Is it really worth it if he's alone?
If he's isolated.
Exactly.
Is he a hero, or is this like a cautionary tale?
That is the question, isn't it? And it brings us to Batman's villains. Because Langley says they're not just random bad guys,
Right.
They reflect Batman himself. These dark mirrors, showing him what could happen.
I'm listening.
Think about it. The Joker, all about chaos.
Yeah.
That's like the potential for nihilism that's inside Batman.
Oh, wow.
Scarecrow, he uses fear.
Yeah.
That's twisting Batman's own tactics, you see.
Turning it back on him.
Yeah. And Two-Face, obsessed with duality.
Like Batman and Bruce Wayne.
Exactly. Each villain, they're a part of Batman's psyche, just taken to the extreme.
So Gotham's bad guys, they're like a map of Batman's mind.
In a way, yeah. All these twisted reflections. And this is where Langley brings in the superego.
Okay. Hit me with it.
So Batman, he's all about rules, right? Justice, control.
Right. The moral code.
Exactly. That's a super strong superego. But his villains, they're the Ide. Pure impulse, no control.
So it's like two sides of the same coin.
Battling it out in Gotham.
And Batman can't ever really win, can he?
Nope. He takes one down, another pops up. This cycle just keeps going.
So that's where Robin comes in.
Maybe, yeah.
He's the hope, right?
He is. And Langley talks about legacy, like Batman passing things on to a new generation, creating something that lasts.
So Robin's not just a sidekick, he's the future.
In a way, yeah. He's proof that even in the darkness, there's still good.
That's a powerful message. Well, there you have it, the psychology of Batman. We went deep today. Trauma, fear, love, hope. We covered it all.
And that's really just the beginning, isn't it? There's always more to uncover.
That's true. So to our listeners, what sticks with you? What intrigues you most about Batman? Think about it as you continue your own deep dive into Gotham. Until next time, keep exploring.